City's managing director. If you don't know what managing director is, it's kind of like the city manager. So I've been in that role for about 14, 15 months. Prior to that, some of you may know, my career was in law enforcement, and I'm a former police chief in the city of Lancaster and also the city of Reading. So tonight, we haven't had a meeting like this for a while, but we thought it'd be really good to get a face-to-face meeting with some of our citizens. So that's what we're doing tonight. The way we want to conduct a meeting is, first, the police are going to make a presentation. The first part of the meeting is going to be about crime issues in the city. So they'll tell you about what's going on. After that, we will have a chance for you to ask questions, give some feedback, and learn about your concerns or what you would like to see. After we conclude that portion, I just want to get ideas from you, if you're interested, in telling us, as you know, we're going to be hiring a new police chief. So I'd like to get some thoughts from you about what you would like to see in your new police chief. Give you a chance, opportunity to tell us what you'd like to see. Okay, sound good? So I'm going to turn it over to Acting Chief Ruiz and let him introduce the members of the team and get started. Thanks again for being here.
Yes. Welcome, and thank you for taking your time and joining us. I am Acting Chief Javier Ruiz. I have with me, starting from the left, Captain Brian Rogers. Sergeant. Jason Linderman. I'm just messing with you.
I got you.
I have Captain Penthony here, and at the far end, I have Lieutenant Blue Shade. Captain Penthony is going to start us with the presentation.
Hi, how are you? I'm Captain Cheryl Penthony. I'm in charge of the Special Services Division for the Police Department. So basically, I have everything in the police department that doesn't include patrol or investigations. Just a little background about what I do. So I want to welcome everybody tonight. I made a short presentation, kind of what our crime stats are looking at, how they're broken down, and a little bit of information about what's going on in the city. So there are two types of crime statistics that we report to the FBI. Group A offenses are going to be your major offenses. That's going to be your murders, your rapes, your robberies, aggravated assaults, burglaries, thefts, motor vehicle thefts, and arsons. The Group B offenses are going to be things that are usually like a citation kind of thing, be it curfew violations, loitering, vagrancy, disorderly conduct, DUIs, nonviolent family offenses, liquor law violations, trespassing, and basically anything else that does not fall under the Group A. So what we're kind of looking at right now for our Group A offenses from January 1st of 2023 till October 31st of 2023. We like to break down our stuff quarterly. It kind of makes it easier to digest. So as of right now, we're sitting at, there's been 13 homicides. There's been 12 incidents, but 13 victims. We've had 29 reported rapes, 86 reported robberies, 208 reported aggravated assaults, 283 reported burglaries, 787 reported thefts, 187 reported motor vehicle thefts, and 17 arsons. As I said, that goes up until, September 30th, not October. I made a mistake on there. So comparing 22 and 23, where we were back in 23 versus where we are today, we're up approximately 9% overall with the Group A offenses, going with the total of them this time versus last time. So at the end of September last year, we had 1,518 Group A offenses, and September 30th of this year, we had 1,610. Okay. But we are, for the main stuff, we're actually down with our homicides. We're at 13 versus at this time we were at 16 last year. Okay. 5-year comparison, I know it's kind of small, so I just kind of did a little highlight of it where 2019 was our high for Group A crimes. That was 2,393 Group A crimes, but that was our low for homicides. At that point, we had 6 homicides that year. 2021 was our lowest number for Group A crimes at 1,808, but we had the increase in homicides and we had 14 that year. So, do you guys think that Reading, PA is a dangerous place?
No.
No? Why do you think that misconception is out there? Anybody?
The news.
The news? Because why? They only focus on the bad things. They don't focus on all of the good things that happen in the city, all of the programs that we do. When good things happen, the ability to try and bring businesses in. So, exactly, to answer the question, for the majority of people, no. Reading is not a dangerous place. Most violent crime incidents are not random. The victim and suspect know each other or have some type of connection. The victim and suspect have some form of a confrontation that led to a violent incident, or the victim was involved in some type of criminal activity. So it's not like we have a rash of random people being victims of crimes of violence. Property crimes, that's sometimes a different story, because a lot of times those are crimes of opportunity. If you don't lock your car, if you leave things in plain view, have packages on your front porch, people will take the opportunity to just snatch that up because it's a crime of opportunity. The majority of our thefts, believe it or not, are people leaving things behind. I go to a store, I set this down on the counter, walk out with my stuff, somebody takes off with my cell phone. That's a theft. Leaving your vehicle running or double parked in the street. That is definitely a quick way for somebody to steal your car. Not locking your apartment doors or making sure that your windows are secure. These are all things that we as citizens of the city can do to help prevent being a victim of a crime. So, what are we as the police department doing to try and reduce crime? Some of the steps that we're taking, we've already gone and presented our budget to council for this year. We're asking for an increased number of police officers. That's one of the biggest complaints that we hear from constituents. There's not enough cops on the street. We don't see enough cops. Why aren't there more cops? We're trying to get more qualified officers out on the streets. We're using data-driven statistics. We have different programs that we use that help us compute numbers of crimes. And so it kind of plots everything out for us so we can kind of see where things are happening, be it where there's a rash of burglaries happening or car thefts and things like that. We had applied for and received a grant from PCCD, which is Pennsylvania Commission Against Crime and Delinquency, to be able to conduct gun violence reduction details. And starting in February of this year, after the grant was awarded to us, we've conducted 37 gun violence details and 2 ceasefire details. The ceasefire details, we go and combine our officers with sheriffs and probation and parole and a lot of other resources to have a lot of law enforcement out on the street to be able to go and potentially target specific people, be it people who are wanted for crimes that haven't been picked up yet, or people who may be known to the law enforcement community as potential violent offenders. And some of the details that we got, or what we got back from them, they got 88 arrests, 39 of which were felony arrests, 17 were misdemeanor, 9 were summaries. They conducted 138 traffic stops, did 45 subject stops, and have already seized 18 firearms this year. So that's 18 illegal guns that we took off the streets to help go and prevent them being used against someone else. I did kind of an analysis of the murder victims throughout the city for this year. And just to kind of see what I already knew is the majority of the victims of homicide in the city are not random people just getting shot. We actually did have two. One was an individual who was running around, just had mental health issues, and was actually a juvenile running around shooting people, just randomly shooting people, and ended up killing one person. They have since been arrested and they're awaiting trial. Another unintended victim was with somebody else who was an intended victim. So it goes to show, be aware of who you're hanging around with. Make sure that you're hanging around with good people, and hopefully bad things don't happen, because bad things happen or follow around people who do bad things. The majority of everything else was either domestic related, a robbery that went bad, or the person was involved in some way in gang activity or drug activity. So, do you guys have any questions about what's going on in the city, or any concerns that you would like to bring up to us about things that are going on, things that you would like us to address? As I said, we have the chief here, myself, Sergeant Linderman, who is a sergeant with the Investigations Division, and we also have Captain Rogers, who's in charge of the Patrol Division. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Sarah Torres.
Hi, Sarah.
And I have my son, my only son, is a student in the Reading High. My son, along with a couple of thousand of his friends, are outstanding young men and young ladies. And we have tried, the parents, most of the parents of these outstanding young men and women, to get a hold of the previous chief. It was a terrible disaster. It was unsuccessful, and I know we're not here to pinpoint who did what and why you did it and why you didn't do it. But now that moving forward, one of the things that your flyer said is the hopes that the community have for this new person in your department.
Yes.
The school district does not have any data that the parents don't want a healthy relationship with the police department and the schools. We are the parents, and these are community schools. We, by law, have a saying on the type of relationship that you guys have with the school district. We will back you if it's a healthy relationship. It's not only to police our children, but it's also to establish a healthy community with our children, so then you don't have to police our children, and our children doesn't become the subjects that the whole community have to endure.
Absolutely.
When they come out of school.
So
what are your plans? What are your plans so we can back you up when you're facing the school district and the people that say without any data that we don't want you there? Because the children are our children.
Absolutely.
So we're the parents and we have the last say. So what are the plans? What's step one?
So Ms. Torres is asking what we as the police department have planned to try and institute a better working relationship with the school district, to have a better relationship between the school district and the police department, to help have better relationship with the students and parents, correct?
So far, what we hear is the uniforms are only here to police our children are not criminals, children of color. What I'm trying not to teach my child, and I refuse, no one is ever gonna teach my child is that he's gonna endure the color of his skin or his last name, which is Negron. He's not gonna endure that. So if my child needs to be policed because he chooses the wrong path, please, by all means. But if not, I want him to have a healthy relationship with all of you. So it is, on my part, teach him the right thing. It is in your part to try to build a healthy relationship. If they close that door, how can I support you guys to push that door so you guys can get in?
No, absolutely. Part of our plan, which is kind of on hold right now until we actually have a new chief put into the position, is absolutely to make sure that we have a good two-way working relationship with the school district and Superintendent Murray. But we would absolutely like to try with the additional officers, have the ability to put additional officers into school resource officer position, because right now we only have 2 for all of the Reading School District schools. So those officers don't have the opportunity that we would enjoy them to have to go and form the relationships with the students and be able to be there for the good times and to check in with the kids and to do activities and things like that. Right now, because there's only 2 of them, they seem more of having to just deal with problems and issues, so they don't have the opportunity to put forth to grow their relationships with the students like we want to. Sorry, I don't have the exact answer for you at this point, but that's what ideally we would like to do as soon as we get some stability as to the leadership of the department.
So is it gonna be in anyone's notebook, that question, and then we will work with Superintendent Murray, which we love, and it's always lending a
Yes, absolutely. Lieutenant Shade is kind of here to be the note taker, so that way she can keep track of.
Lieutenant Shade is amazing, and I'm short with that word.
Yes, absolutely. So that's one of the reasons why she's here, so she can go and write down any of the issues or concerns or items for us to follow up with. So, yes, ma'am.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Shaika Yarira del Rio Gonzalez, victim of both sides. I had a son murdered back in February 23rd, 2021, and I have a son being accused of murder as of last year. To later learn on, a lot of the things that occurred actually started in school with the bullying, with the back and forth, and obviously the streets took over, and here I am today. My question to you is, how will you be addressing those parents that actually come to you with seeking help, where there is the bullying going on in school, but they can't get through the schools in any way, shape, or form, and they're coming to you for help? Because I do have a list of parents that have come here and asked for help, and they were turned. I'm not gonna say it was under this chief, but unfortunately under our previous chief, he turned that back, those parents back. And, just like myself, I ended up with a dead son. So what are you gonna do, or what is our new chief of staff gonna do to make sure that we have that communication between the school and the
Police department?
all of you guys, and make sure that our kids don't end up in jail. I myself went seeking for help, and I got turned down. Later on to be told, I'm sorry, we let you down. Like I said to him, get my son out of the grave and tell him you're sorry. And while you're there, drive to Berks County Prison and tell him you're sorry.
I understand. Again, that's another, it's a difficult question to answer. Whenever anybody else wants to throw in.
Bullying is real, it starts in the school,
Absolutely.
and we need to help it stop.
I think
We need to attack it before it becomes something drastic, and we keep on burying children.
what I'm getting from both of you, ma'am, if I may, again, hi all, I'm Captain Brian Rogers, I'm in charge of the uniform section of the Reading Police Department. I think with both these 2 questions, I think, yes, we could stall and wait for a new incoming chief, but it sounds to me like maybe sometime very soon we should start the process while we wait for a new incoming chief as a command staff of the police department to maybe reach out to the school district and start to see if there's any barriers or things that were in place before that we weren't a key to, that we can maybe start working to overcome. Because I get that the majority of parents do like the presence of police, and generally when police are involved in the schools, it does make them slightly safer because they're on scene for when the disturbances. Thankfully, our city has not endured what some other cities have endured with school shootings. And then primarily, that's what our SROs deploy to most days when they're deployed in patrol. But going forward, I think we'll need to reach out to the school district and maybe set up a meeting and begin that process, and not just sit on our hands and wait for a new chief to come in.
And not to extend on the school issue, and I myself have taken upon myself, Chief Royce is my witness, Lieutenant Shade is my witness, Superintendent Murray is my witness. A lot of people in this room is my witness that I have tried over and over and over, Sheriff Wignick, over and over and over to get that bridge, that gap, that ladder, that duct tape, anything, so we can find out who is saying that the parents don't want the police. It's not that there's gotta be an officer in every school. That's not gonna solve anything or everything. But your presence in front of the school tells all of the bad guys that this is not the day. This is not the day. And our support is gonna mean a lot for you guys, and our support is gonna mean a lot for the people that say that we don't want you there, specifically when there's no data. Because I've asked several times for the data, and the data doesn't exist. So moving forward, we just wanna, I guess I want to express my full support, and I want you guys to write it somewhere that this is going to be the crusade for the next couple of years with the new chief. That's the goal of the parents, or at least the ones I represent in mind. Because number one, I don't want my child to be the victim of whatever is happening outside the school, but I also don't want my community to endure my child. So I'm gonna do everything I can, but I need your help. And then obviously I know the school district will help me.
And part of it too is,
Yeah.
we as the police department and even the school can't be the only ones who are working on these issues. We need the help from the community to help the community teach these kids the right way. We need to get a hold of these kids when they're young and teach them not to bully, not to get wrapped up in the streets. Show them that there are alternative options for them out there. There's so much that the police can do and so much that the school district can do, but we have to involve the community, we have to involve the parents, and we have to involve people in the community who say they want to help the kids too. Yes, ma'am.
First of all, thank all of you for all of your work that you do for our community. I have two questions. One is that we know that most violence, when we talk about school violence, is happening outside of the school and brought into the school. We also know that the school to prison pipeline exists, systematic racism, and police brutality. What is Reading Police Department doing to foster community in the community of color is question one, and how do you plan to address those issues? The second question is, and I'm sorry, I would like to also introduce myself, the violence recovery specialist at Reading Hospital, so I do notice some officers here that I frequently see in the ED there. We know that when we talk about violence, that it is an epidemic disease, and we look at it as such. So we know that one, it clusters like a disease, it spreads like a disease, and then it transmits like a disease. Is the Reading Police Department looking at this as a health epidemic? And if so, what is your approach, or what strategies are you taking to approach it as such? Thank you.
All right, there's a bunch of stuff there. We'll first go with the prison to pipeline. We as the police department are not looking to lock people up. We are looking to stop problems. If the person ends up that that's the only way to stop the problem, for them to be arrested, that's what we have to do. Ideally, you can ask any officer on the street, do you want to go through all the paperwork of arresting people? Do you want to be stuck in court all day because of somebody else's actions? Absolutely not. But we have to go, and there's certain people that need to get arrested because of what they're doing, and they're not going to stop any other way. The police brutality. Do you have any examples of that off the top of your head by chance?
For one, I wanted to know, you mentioned that there are other things that you do before you get to arresting. There are those things. And when we talk about police brutality, we're talking about the history of it and the cultural norms in our community. So there's mistrust there, right, with communities of color and the police. So I'm talking about his long history of police brutality. We can go back and I can give you examples.
Okay, I was wondering if you had something specific for now.
No, I'm just speaking in general.
Because, I mean, in theory, you can go back history and find out all kinds of bad things. And everybody has evolved as they've gone through. And to just bring up police brutality, the history of police brutality, it paints everybody in a bad picture. Talking about systemic racism and police brutality goes and paints every single police officer in a bad way.
Well, it's a system. It's not the police officers. I mean, and these are uncomfortable truths that we have to learn how to discuss and talk about. When we talk about healing and reducing violence, these are things that have to be discussed no matter how bad they seem or how uncomfortable they make us. So, I mean, all of you know about the no snitching policy in our community. That came from police brutality. So in order to address culture norms, these are the conversations that we have to have.
Right,
No,
but that
actually,
also...
if I can just interject there for a second. The no snitching policy did not come from the police department. That came from fellow people that were up to bad things, telling folks that...
Victimizing their own people in their own community.
Well, I disagree. There's probably a combination of both, but it definitely came from the mistrust with the police and the history there.
Well, I would say that mistrust is poor. Let me see if I can rephrase it a different way. I understand what you're saying, but I think we're thinking about a different sense. So that mistrust is that if someone tells the police something, somebody else is going to get in trouble. So that person that told would snitches get stitches or stop snitching, that kind of jargon. And I don't think it's really mistrust by the police. The police are acting on what they're being told. As the police department or as a police entity, we are to police the people. Okay, and whether that's good or bad, it doesn't paint a good picture. Sometimes the racism thing, all that stuff, that gets highlighted. Okay, that's all you see on the news. That's oh my gosh, this officer said a racist thing, and that's capitalized on the news over and over and over. So like the captain said, we can't really go through that because that could go back for years in history and so on and so forth. But I just wanted to put forth the fact that the snitching, don't snitch, that didn't come from police brutality or anything. That would, in my opinion, and I've been doing this for over 20 years, is that
was bad people wanting good people not to step forward and say, this is the man that assaulted, this is the guy that assaulted me, so now the police arrest this guy. They don't want me saying that. They want me to be in fear from the other members of my community that I'm not going to tell the police, this is the guy that assaulted me.
Correct.
And
Brother,
that's
I
where
want to give you
generally
an
that came from.
example. I want to give you an example of what we did in my block. In my block, they assassinated two young men the year before I bought my house. It was the only house I could buy, the only house I can afford for me and my son, and I bought it. And everybody said, why, are you crazy? Why are you buying in that block? Did you not see the news? Blah, 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 blah. We had heavy drug activity in the corner of my block. Heavy, it was heavy, heavy, heavy. I put cameras in front of my house because that's the way I'm gonna protect my son. A lot of people said, well, we're gonna pay so-and-so to take them down, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. I put my cameras there. Anytime anything happened, I called the police and I gave them the footage. What that did was encourage my neighbors to put cameras in their houses. And the across the street lady, she couldn't afford them, we paid for them. The lady down the street, she did it. The other lady did it. The other lady did it. The other lady that is undocumented, I said, your cameras are not for immigration, your cameras are for the police, to keep us all safe. So now we have cameras from the front of the block.
Oh, yeah, I'm not against
all
extra
the way to the
I'm not
end.
against extra
You know what
security.
happened? You know what happened with the heavy drug activity that we had? It doesn't exist in my block. Because every time someone crosses the block
Yeah, it
the
just
wrong
pushes it
way,
out to the another
the wrong
block,
way,
right.
it doesn't happen in my block.
But what I was saying as far as the no snitching policy, and I'm not saying that you're completely wrong, but we can date back all the way from how the Black Panthers were formed and the mistrust and how they had to police their own community. And that's originally where those kind of culture norms stemmed from. Yeah, obviously there's people that are committing murders that don't want us to go and tell the police. So sure, there's some truth to that.
Sure, and certainly we can go back through history and that there, yes, when the Black Panthers were here, and they policed their own people because they didn't trust the police. I mean, we could take all kinds of instances from history and go over that, but I think what we're missing here is the big picture. We're here today to solve problems today.
And that's what my question was directed towards today. I'm a history buff, and I feel like everyone needs to know the kind of history of how we got to where we are today, and that was my reference for that.
Right.
So,
To maybe address some of your things, so policies in place, anybody who would allege that anything takes place with, say, police brutality in the Reading Police Department we have an internal affairs unit that is separate from all the police department units that operates individually so that it can be uninfluenced by any other department in the police department. And all the complaints that come in are thoroughly investigated and reviewed, not only by that office, but then also by us as command staff. We have also asked in the budget, I believe, coming up, for some social workers to
yeah, I
help
did see that.
address
But I
some.
wanted to interrupt you just because my point of bringing that up was to my question is, what is the Reading Police Department doing to foster and build community? Because we know all of those bad things exist, so
Yes.
how are
Well,
we?
part of what we're trying to do is starting here with the community town hall meetings and having the community come out, let us know what's going on so we can go and increase our community engagement and relationships with members of the community. Because who teaches these kids not to trust the police? The parents and members of the
Or
community.
the bad kid down the
So
block.
if we,
With all due respect, Kathy.
Not necessarily the parents.
Not all the parents.
No,
No,
but
I said-
the bad,
When
but
you
the
say
bad,
the parents.
no,
the
there's
parents
some-
of those
some people
children.
in the community,
Yes.
not necessarily the parents.
Not
It could be the
necessarily.
bad kid down the block.
Right.
It's not necessarily the parents, that's not directed at parents.
Right.
But it's members of our own community that are fostering these things. And as a police department, we are sometimes completely and utterly powerless to fix that. We can assist, but at any given time, there's supposed to be we're supposed to have 168 officers. Like with not just the law enforcement community, a lot of fields of employment across the Commonwealth, nobody can get help.
Is there a
We can't hire enough police officers, and we are trying. We're doing double tests, but we only have so many officers at any given time to engage in the community to provide policing. 20 officers cannot police a city of 100,000 residents if 90,000 of those residents throw their arms up in the air and don't do anything to engage, either because they have not become a victim of a crime or they don't care. So you see where some of this goes. Getting into a tit for tat, we're not going to foster a repair right this moment.
Captain, is there a possibility of empowering citizens who offer some kind of training for citizens? I'm a Marine, and there's other
You mean
people
like
in the
a
community.
community, like
that- You don't gotta pay
police
me.
academy.
I'm willing to go to your boot camp. I live in my city, my business is in my city, I'm born and raised in the city, my family's from the city, and I'm not going anywhere. So there's a lot of good people in the community. And you guys can't, you're trying, but there's only so much you can do. But there's people, I think what this wonderful, amazing woman, if anything, I'm so grateful to be here is just to hear what she's doing, because this is what encourages the community to know that there's people that actually care and are doing things, where we can work together. Hey, can we get police on the street? Like that, and the cars isn't gonna do it. And I understand you're
When you say police on the street.
walking. That's, I
Walking.
know you because I'm here and I'm talking with you. I talk and I stop. I choose to stop and thank all of you for your service. I choose to form a relationship with you guys and tell you how much I appreciate it. But sometimes, and everyone says thank you, I think sometimes it's not reciprocated in the sense you guys to protect and serve. When you serve someone and you lay your life down, it's not just, you know, when somebody's shooting at you, it's going and actually talking with the community, the people within your community, like whatever that looks like. Okay, I don't know how your shifts go, but if it's like in your 8-hour shift, you got to walk that block. I want you to walk that block, you know, one time. This block,
and that's one thing.
say hi to these kids. Stop and say hi to these kids. Engage these. We do an after-school program at 16th and Hall. We do a Bible vacation program, you know, and I've had police officers come. So if there's some kind of a liaison or some kind of, you know, within the community, I think one of the biggest problems in the city of Reading is that every department kind of works by themselves. And I think now they're trying to, and I've seen this with A. Moran, that he's trying to engage all the public works, zoning, everyone to work together so that because we have a lot of good people and a lot of good assets in the city. So can you guys, is that a possibility? Getting them out there, interacting
That's
with,
one thing that
with
we
the
used to,
children.
when we had more manpower, we'd have the guys go out and do park and walks in their different districts. That way they can go out, walk the streets, see.
What about retired police officers? What about putting a program for service guys, for your vets, that you can train?
Do you know of any other place that has something like what you're trying to explain to us? Like,
Forgive me, I
That we could
thought I
look at.
have read where they, you know, towns and cities have deputized, you know, made men or women deputies,
you mean
put them
to-
through training
to
with the
allow
service.
them to make arrests and stuff, or to
Brother, I'll tell you, since I've been here, I've been back 10 years, getting a cop to a scene or anything is very, very difficult. I had to go and police my neighborhood to get La Máquina, which was an after club on 16th and Cotton, the old cotton gin. And I had to go with my dog outside and against 12 people parked in front of my house waiting for the police officers, and I knew they weren't coming. And they didn't. Now, whether it was a Manning thing, and I would go and talk with talk with them, talk, nothing happened. I had to buy the building. Well, first of all, zoning had to shut them down. But like, they knew that there was prostitution, drugs going in, and they would never go inside. Never go inside. Guys were getting shot out. They were knocking on my door saying that somebody got shot in the alley or in my garage where I have tools. I said, there's no party there. The party's at 16th and Cotton. How do you guys not know this? Like, it seemed, forgive me for the frustration. I think there's a lot of you guys doing a great job. But I think there's a lot more we can do, you know, with a lot of different things. Like, when I call and say, hey, there's 8 dirt bikes, and they're all sitting out there, and you can go and get them. They're standing there mocking everybody, and nobody comes.
But that's the problem, and believe me, I agree with you with the motorbikes. I absolutely despise them because they just tear up the roads, they cause accidents. But here's the problem for us. If we chase them and they get hurt or injured, then now we're responsible. We can't just go up and bum rush a pack of motorcycles because we think they're illegal.
They could be completely
legal and so on and so forth. And again, I'm not downplaying what you're saying because I hate them. I absolutely hate the motorbikes that race all over the city because not only are they endanger regular citizens, but the rider themselves. They're just doing foolish stuff and they're going to get somebody or themselves killed. So we're still governed by law. That we can't just, and believe me, if we could, we'd just go take them and go, but we can't because we have to follow the law. And sometimes that law ties our hands tighter than we would like it. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but
It's crappy.
it's not a solution.
I know it's not.
It's not stopping, and these guys are taunting people with weapons, and it's very easy to know which one doesn't have a plate and if they don't have thing. And I've seen them go right by a cop and the cop not do absolutely nothing. You're empowering these criminals. You're letting them know that they have our streets. I'm the one that goes up to them with no gun, with no badge.
We have addressed the dirt bike problem though, in the last 2 years. So we changed the ordinance through the clerk. And I was a big proponent in, people wanted to seize these bikes and then re-auction them. I said, no, you cannot. They need to go to the crusher.
Amen.
And we have crushed dozens of them. Had we not done that, I guarantee the dirt bike, is it solved? No. But you see a dirt bike going by the police car, would you rather that police car go to a motor vehicle crash or chase some kid on a dirt bike or go to that domestic? There are some of the things that are playing in the background that a citizen seeing the police car drive by may not always be able to address that problem immediately. And when you have 15 to 20 officers to police the entire city at any given time, there's a very good probability that something else is going on that, and we very much try to triage and determine where to send our officers for the best of the community, whether it be from this side of the city, this side of the city, depending on what's transpiring.
So is there a possibility for any kind of a program where you guys can train
We can look into
citizens?
it. Again, there's
I
some
mean, 'cause
legal constraints
if you
to
have
those type
people-
of things too.
Yeah,
Well,
there's legal
if they're
constraints,
signing
there's
a waiver,
contractual,
Captain.
there's
No, it's
also
not just that.
contractual
It's-
stuff
there's also things-
between the
Yep.
police department and the city
The
that
police
needs to
department,
be
the city,
factored into.
MOPAC that governs.
Is it the union?
No, there's.
They're all good points, but we have a person
Several
here,
people that wanna put their
been
hands
for a
in.
while. Take that one, we have a
This lady
person
back
here
here.
with their hand up, we have a person over here, so 1, 2, 3, let's get some more questions out there.
Yeah, I
Good
just,
stuff.
Just go
okay,
ahead.
so I have a couple of things. So obviously I get, you guys say like you don't wanna talk about the history of certain things. But with ignoring, you can't ignore the fact of the mistrust between the police and the black and brown community. Like you have to address that if you want to foster community.
Do you have any ideas of how we can better the relationship between the police department and people of color?
Yes, I mean, I think like you said, like being out in the street,
Okay.
going to community events when there's community events. I think just being more social, being more friendly, being more approachable are good ways, to do that. If there's organizations, try to join them if you guys can, things like that. You know, like.
Because that's part of it too.
I-
We're not gonna come up with all of the answers to everything. That's part of the reason why
that's
having
fine. And I
community
think,
here.
you know, like blaming parents for the reason like we don't trust cops, I don't think that's the reason. I think you can say the media, just like you said, the media portrays police brutality, they do. Like, we've seen people get beat up in other cities, and cop videos, I've seen videos of crowds floating around in Reading. You know what I mean? I've never been in trouble a day of my life, but if a cop car pulls behind me, I'm gonna be scared to shit. I can tell you that, the truth. So that's just what it is.
Let me stop you right there. Why would you be scared?
Why not?
Okay.
And I've already had a gun pulled on me for mistaken identity.
But you're, okay, just give me, let me just ask you this. If you've never been in trouble in your life,
Never been arrested.
Never been arrested.
But I already had a cop pull a gun on me because they thought I was someone else.
okay, and that, I understand that stuff that happens, okay? But other than those interactions with the police department, have you had a bad one where you would be physically scared to be pulled over by a police officer?
Other than those interactions.
And that's where the problem lies. And I'm not pointing or accusing you of anything. What I'm saying is you're scared, but you can't give me an explanation as to why. We're doing our job. If you ran that stop sign, we're pulling you over because you ran the stop sign.
Obviously.
If you ran the red light or did something, whatever, that we need to police or enforce police action, we're
Right.
doing that. But just because the media mainstreamed a cop beating somebody up or this or that, doesn't mean to make you be scared of
Right.
us coming up to you. Now,
Right.
again, if you can
But
tell
I
me that you
have-
had
there's-
17
there's-
instances.
But there's other things. There's racial trauma. There's integration, and
I understand that, man, but you can't, here's the thing, if we go through our lives in this little bubble that every time we interact with somebody, whatever color they may be, that something bad is gonna happen. We're perpetuating that, are we not?
you can't ignore that though. You
I'm
can't
not
ignore
ignoring you.
that
I'm not
trauma.
saying that it's not here, I'm not saying that it's going away, I agree with you that it's real. But if I were to pull you over,
Yes.
why would you be scared? I'm walking up to say, hello, ma'am, you ran that stop sign, can I see your license and registration, please? That's a nice interaction. You
That
might
is
be
nice
mad because you ran a stop sign and I pulled you over, but But again, I'm not a threatening person.
That's a nice interaction.
That's a nice interaction.
That's how it's gonna go?
I don't know, I can't tell you, I can't, if I had that ball, I would play the lottery and I would tell you the winning numbers. I don't know how it's going to go for you, but to be scared of everything, every time a police officer gets behind you or you see a police officer, that kind of puts us in a bubble too, doesn't it? Well, don't talk to them, they're the police officers, we should be scared of those guys. But then we're supposed to harbor good community relations, but everybody's scared of us. You follow what I'm saying? It's kind of a push-pull.
It's definitely a two-way street.
It is.
Yes. It's gonna take people in the community to own up and step up and have some
Absolutely.
responsibility. But I can tell you personally, and I know many people in this room, because I've been an advocate on gun violence for quite some time and founded an organization. And again, the prior chief is not here to say anything, but I've come to the Reading Police Department on multiple occasions to try to foster a working relationship, and it went ignored. So while the city, and I live in the city, I live on one of the hot blocks of the city that you guys just rated actually. So while there are residents here that want to do something, and they need the help of you all.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am,
Miss-
you've had,
Miss
your
Morrison.
hand
She
must be
wasn't
lowered.
done.
She wasn't done.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, so with the rising level of mental health crisis in the world, and obviously in Reading, what do you guys do when you approach those calls? Like, do you guys have a protocol in place? Are you planning to put anything in place?
Yes, I answered, we're looking to hire actual mental health social workers to go out with the officers. Young lady in the back, that her arm is probably numb.
I
You held it
like
up so
this
long.
discussion simply because I see it from both sides. I think we become biased when we only talk about police law enforcement. And there are other roles that the law enforcement community has to address. It's our safety and our welfare. Those are three balancing balls that we have to see it in its totality. We're not, the law enforcement capacity is just not enforcement. We only see it in enforcement. And when our children have an adverse reaction to law enforcement, it's because their experiences, they've seen their uncle, their father, their mother being taken away, arrested. So of course there's trauma involved there. But I'm saying it's not as much as the trauma as being home as a child, being raped by your father, being molested by an uncle. Those are the kinds of fear factors and rage factors that are allowing our children to pick up a gun and killing somebody, because it's unidentified trauma. Now, there's a responsibility that parents have to keep their children safe at home. And as much as we hide the fact that we live in a culture that people have gone to the perverted extremes, behind their bedroom doors, behind their home doors. Now, when you deal with children going to school, the bullying is just the trigger that brings out that rage. That young man who brought a gun to school, they asked him, why did you bring that gun to school? This was a profile kid who was quiet, easygoing, never in trouble. But he brought that gun to school and it created a shock value that still we're reverberating by. But nobody asked him, what happened to you that you had to bring that gun to school? And that's the story that the social worker can ask, or the school counselor, or the parent can ask. Because that boy was almost raped, but he couldn't tell anybody. So these are the things that are the hidden root causes that are working among our children. And we sit here wanting to place the blame somewhere, but we all have to collectively take the blame. We're in this together. So let's talk about our community policing. In the past, when I was a Panther, we worked and interacted with the police department because they trained us on what you see, how you see it, and what you should say, and what you should report. That was a community effort in the middle of this organizing the community as an effort to seize the day. We had to take responsibility for our safety in our own community and keeping each other protected in our own community. And the community was not black, it was not white, it was a multicultural, working class community. That's what Reading used to be.
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
you can remember, Miss Evelyn,
Let me move
years
forward.
back, no, just one point on yours.
Go ahead.
When you lived in the city, you knew everybody lived on your block, right?
And every police officer.
Absolutely. You knew everybody lived on your block. People had pride in their blocks. They looked out for each other. They looked out for each other's kids. And that's something that has changed now. Like, you go to some blocks, talk to somebody, do you know your neighbor? Nope, I don't know who they are. They know nothing about the people who are living around them. They don't know, either they don't care, they're just worried about their own stuff. And that's something that community and us need to get better at.
Correct.
Know who your neighbors are. Look out for each other.
And that training has to be deliberate and intentional. There's so many groups that are working on their agenda, but yet the collaboration may not be there. Because it becomes my program, my ministry, my territory, my area of expertise, my. And it's no longer, because the children don't see the my part. They see the adults having their own agendas. And that's what allows them to distrust us as adults. So what I'm saying is, we need to start working together. I want to see two things happen in the police department with the community. I would like us to have training in the community academy. That works very well to create relationships. You have a wonderful chaplain program, that you have wonderful ministers that are engaged with the crisis or the trauma that's taken place. Those people are genuine people and they care, but you don't see them as a group that, hey, we're chaplains and we're going around and no, because their egos are not in it. Their spiritual well-being for themselves and others are in it. So I'd like to see the community police academy come back. I'd like to see the community training come back. Because if we had an earthquake tomorrow, if we had a flood tomorrow, how could we help each other thrive in that condition? Those are those emergency management things that police are the first call. And then the fire, and then the emergency management team. We have training that needs to be done that's serious for survival. If we were in a crisis, let's say a God-caused crisis, how would we interact? What would we mobilize? The police couldn't do it. The citizens would have to be mobilized, but they need to be trained. FEMA is an excellent partner for those kinds of emergencies. I'm saying, let's use the resources that we already have. Let's commit ourselves not to the problem, but to us creating the solution. And create the community policing, create the support that both the police, community, parents, school district needs. I was upset with the school district, simply because they spent over $1 million batting down the hatches with new alert systems, with new metal detectors. But somebody didn't realize that guns are now being manufactured in a plastic that will get right through those metal detectors. But yet we spent all those resources reacting to that boy bringing that gun to school. When it's a curriculum, now that's my second point, the curriculum that we need to establish is so that we can encourage our brown and African American children to take up careers as law enforcement and correction agents. So they need training in technical equipment. Technical equipment is weaponry. In the high school level, they should be prepared to go into the academy, go into police, go into law enforcement, okay? As a career with benefits and a good paying job, so that there's a relationship taking place. You have a wonderful juvenile, the Junior Police Academy. You have what, 50 children engaged?
61 applied for this year.
Yay, that's an increase, that's wonderful. That means that we're getting that pipeline to patrolmen. You know, not pipeline to prison, but pipeline to patrolmen. So that those children are growing up with a standard, they're keeping themselves crime-free, drug-free, so that they can move on to those careers in law enforcement. That's already happening. How many in here already knew that? How many have you encouraged your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews to engage in that program? See, that's the proactivity we need. Sitting here talking about you did this and you did that, that gets nothing done. But when we talk about the solution and actually committing ourselves to action, how many people in this room are going to take the next step and say, I volunteer to take the police training. I want the police training, community academy. Or the next step is to say, let's meet those junior police academies. Let them tell us what their experience is.
I think we can do that, and I'm not trying to cut you short, but
I
there's
just want to say one more thing.
two other people
With
that
the
want out.
school district,
All right.
we're meeting to discuss a curriculum, weaponry awareness, gun awareness, technical assistance awareness, because we give our children border guns every summer. We give our children BB guns when they get to be teenagers. Our rural parents have their children take courses so that they can go hunting. Guns are not bad. It's how we perceive them for their use. So, of course, my last statement is this. The NRA, say what you will about the NRA, but they have an excellent program called Ernie Eagle. And Ernie and his friends have a mantra that's very much like the fire, the stop, drop, and roll. It's stop, don't touch, run away, tell a grown-up when you see a firearm. And then it moves into the junior high school level. I think our children at the high school level need to see what a body looks like when it's all shot up. Not on the video, but in reality, so that in high school, they can actually get a graphic on what gun violence does to the physical body, and give them that sense that when we were teenagers and saw the lungs of a smoker, once I saw that, I never wanted to smoke. And to this day, I don't smoke. Well, legal stuff, but. But I'm finished there. But that's the three things. The community policing, get our children ready for curriculums and careers in law enforcement. And then as a community, work together on one agenda to get things done. Amen?
Amen.
Thank you.
My name is Jimmy Bias Jr., and I first have a comment, and then I have a question to follow up. So I want to piggyback on what Louis was saying. This is my comment on if there are people on motorbikes and they are mocking and they're in groups, right? I understand that you guys want to obviously keep it safe, right? Someone doesn't want to lose their life by being chased. But if they're sitting there, as he was stating, and you can visibly see that they don't have license plates, then it's easily to make a decision on following up on that.
Well,
That's just my comment.
Just
My,
to
question-
follow up on your comment real quick, that is in fact true. If there's no license plate on that motorcycle, we can absolutely stop them. The problem is when they jump off and take off down the street, and now we as a police officer chase them with a 2,000-pound missile. They blow an intersection, they get through, but now we accidentally hit a car, or they hit a car, or whatever.
Now we are the bad guy.
Now we're the bad guy. So,
Or they
I
hit
get
a
it.
pedestrian, and now people show up and say, well, why did the police chase him? He was only on a motorbike. It's only minor traffic violation. So you can see the balancing act we have to perform every day. Well, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, you got a
If
question?
we can find where they're storing them in their garages,
Yes.
let us know.
Yeah.
Because if they're storing them in the garages, we have ways to figure out who's owning the garage and potentially go and grab them while they're not doing
A danger
wheelies,
to the
driving up the
community.
street and endangering the rest of the public.
My question is, from what I'm hearing, is that you're understaffed. And so, I think I saw something on the screen saying that you're looking to either fill positions or create more positions. So my question is, have you guys been able to fill those positions? And if not, how do you plan to do so before you open up new positions?
We are currently going through backgrounds for officer positions for the January hiring right now. We currently have 16 people going through the background process, so we'll try to get as many qualified applicants out of those 16 once the backgrounds are finished. Those potential new hires would start the academy in January, and then in probably March or April-ish, we'll be advertising for another hiring group for July. Right now, we run 2 police academies. So to be able to get people into those academies, there's certain times where we can hire them. So that's our plan. We're also working on, I actually applied to.
Lateral transfer.
Yes, we're working on an agreement with the union right now to get lateral transfers. So if someone already has their police academy and is working somewhere else and has experience, they can come in at a higher pay rate instead of the trainee rate to help entice people who are already police officers to get hired, come right in, go right out with the field training officer and don't have to sit in the police academy for 6 months. I also went and submitted for another grant from PCCD for up to $5,000 for hiring bonuses for new people also.
Thank you. And just a suggestion, instead of opening new positions, maybe if there's from what I've heard is that police officers get trained, right, for the Reading area, but they go elsewhere because the pay's higher. Instead of opening new positions then where you're gonna have to pay those officers, why not increase them the salary of the ones that you're looking to fill the spots up?
Contract negotiations are starting in 2025.
Yeah, we've actually done that.
Yes.
We actually gave the officers a big boost, last year?
Yeah.
And then there's pretty good boosts for the next couple years also. And our benefits are among the best among different agencies, so that's an advantage. We do go to job fairs, we work with colleges, and we're looking at, right now, putting together a new recruitment video to capture people's attention. So I think that will help, maybe do some commercials to make sure people know what the Reading officers do and how good it is to work here.
And it's important people know this is happening in other police departments as
Oh,
well.
yeah, I'm sure everybody's having trouble. Yeah, I think we had 1 or 2 more questions over there, and then I want to change topic for just a bit before I let you go, if you would stay.
I'd like to know what the procedure is. There was an incident Saturday night in my block, I won't tell you. It's been a trouble spot for a long, long time. Noise, juveniles drinking, smoking pot, carrying on, and they're not afraid of the police. A policeman came Saturday night, and I could hear it because I have a camera and you could hear everything. He said, if you guys ain't out of here in an hour, he says, I'm going to get you arrested for a curfew. What is the curfew? What time is the curfew? These kids, as he's walking down, he said, bullshit. He knew, he didn't care. It's like these kids know they can't be touched. They're immune to everything.
Curfew is only a summary offense, and your elected DJs find it that they would rather not enforce that stuff, which in itself garners a problem for the officers. An officer, when somebody is committing an offense that is disrupting the community, and the officer takes the time to take that person, give him a citation, take him in front of the DJ, because we are not judges. We are here to try and be guardians of the community. When that officer now takes time out of his day because he's off duty, has to go to court, disrupt his family life, he goes in front of your elected magisterial district judge, and they dismiss it outright without acting as a true arbiter, and they dismiss it because of they're trying to garner support for re-election or other things.
I understand that, but as soon as that officer would leave, them kids come back in
But
doing the same
those
stuff.
kids also know that.
They don't care.
So but again, I'm telling you that part of the problem is they're not held accountable when they are called to be held accountable, because some elected officials don't carry their job as they should. A magistrate judge is an arbiter.
I understand.
But that's what we run into.
They're
And
too
it's-
easy on. But in that block, these people, older people, they're afraid. They're afraid to call you guys because of retaliation from these kids. I've had it happen to me, so I try to keep my mouth shut, but I was in the Marine Corps too, and I don't like taking that shit from these kids. But you can't say nothing, because they'll shoot at your house, put fake bombs on your steps.
They could still call and
They
just
can
not
still
give
call.
out their
We'll still send
information.
officers.
Oh,
And we'll send officers.
But they're not, they're, some of these young
You have to make a full
kids, they're not,
call.
they're not fools, they know that they won't be held accountable. So the officer is almost a waste of resources. The officers will show
So
up.
then the
They will
people
try
in
to
that
dress them.
area that have to suffer with this.
And just to piggyback off that real quickly, yes, that is the answer, unfortunately, and you will, because when we're dealing with a juvenile, if we arrest them, we then have to find their parent or guardian. So now that police officer that's assigned to your area, that's supposed to be policing your block, is now tied up for an hour or two because we can't find a guardian to release this child to.
I understand.
So
That's
it's-
what
it
I mean,
ties our
something's gotta
hands.
be done.
Agreed.
I'm glad you're getting more officers. I hope that you do, because this city, it has good kids, and it has a lot of bad kids. But it's the bad ones that ruin it for everybody.
Correct.
There are more good kids than bad kids.
I believe that.
There are more good kids
But
than
the
bad
couple
When
kids.
you got them on your block,
But the couple of good ones, the couple of good ones, when we do try and hold them accountable, the magisterial district justices are not holding them accountable.
One more question.
Hi, I'm
Yeah,
Pam,
yeah.
what you heard tonight, and tell them that they will not count with your support in your communities if they don't do something about it.
So my name is Pam, I'm with a nonprofit called the Camel Project, and we work with the bullying behaviors. And it is a learned behavior, and it's perpetuated in our community. So I did some work with the police academy. Lieutenant brought me out to talk to the officers from burnout and how to deal with stress on the job, which is what happens when we get these bad behaviors, these negative behaviors on our communities. I do work with the Reading School District. They do great programs, but when they have the kids walking in with this behavior, it's really hard for them to take that and still educate the kids. I did some work with the traffic division of the police department. Never got anywhere with the previous chief to bring our services in to help manage the stress and burnout of the officers. And rather than trying to retain officers or hire new officers, to help retain current officers. And like I said, I never got anywhere with the previous chief to bring in our program. And again, you guys got a heck of a job, but if we as a community are not either backing you and holding you accountable at the same time, we're not going to get our city to be any better than it is. I love the city. I live in the city 20 years. Our nonprofit is at the Goggle Works. And again, we're working with the school district. We are now doing training for the parents to learn how to de-escalate a bullying behavior, how to take it out, and how to offer. We can't break habits. What we have to do is introduce new perspectives, new options, give them choices. I work with the kids at the school. They feel totally out of control, and the way they take control are inappropriate behaviors. Bullying is not a person, it's a behavior, number one. But that also pertains to the police officers as well. And as many as the officers, and I do get nervous when a cop comes up behind me, I'm sorry, it's just a thing.
Everybody does.
It's just a thing.
Even I do.
But, and I don't care what color you are.
That just means you're guilty to something.
Yeah, exactly. And I got caught, darn it. But again, we can't keep doing the color thing and the culture thing. We have to come together as a community. And like I said, we offered this program to the police department for the burnout and the stress reduction. And when we're under stress, we make stupid decisions. I don't care if you're a 7-year-old or a 70-year-old. So that's what we see. So we hope the officers and the police department with the new chief is more open to more community, a whole community concept, that the police are a part of it, parents are a part of it, and the school's a part of it. And I believe the school's on board. I hope the new chief is on board, because that needs to make this community great. Our community is awesome, and I'm on a bunch of committees with the city of talking about trash and graffiti and making people accountable and educating the people what trees are supposed to be there before you cut them down. So I just hope the new chief is open to the whole community concept.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Managing
Well, that's a
Director.
good segue. Before you depart, I would like to get some ideas from you, and I've already got some, on what you're looking for in a new police chief. I'm involved in the process of selecting a new police chief. It's the mayor's selection of who he believes would be the best fit for our community. We want to get community input. City council, as part of the process, has to ratify the mayor's decision. They will interview the selected candidate also to make sure they feel that it's a good fit. So I've heard that you want the new chief to openly engage the community, communicate better, reach out and provide assistance when someone comes and says, I need help. That we don't turn people away, that we find a way to get them the assistance they need. What else do you want to see in your new police chief? Come on, don't make me select the person by myself. Yes, sir. Meet the community where they're at. Walk in the community, visit the community, go to the bodegas. Make people feel comfortable by not coming to City Hall into a stark office, but go where the people are. Good point. Thank you. What else? Yes.
Possibly look like the community.
Look like the community. That's hard in Reading because we are so diverse.
Yes, we are, but, you know, look like your community or at least understand the culture of your community.
Okay. Very good.
If you look like the community, you
Like I
might
said,
look
the
like an
cultures.
alien.
I believe we've had that for the past couple of years. Chief Ruiz cannot look more like me than anyone else, or like you, or like you. Like, it's impossible we would be siblings if we look more alike.
Okay.
So I believe,
But because a person looks like you, they don't have the same mindset that you
Right,
might have.
right.
I believe that one of the most important things that the new chief should have, and I'm only speaking as a mother, and as a taxpayer as well, is willingness to do the job.
Okay.
Like, if we send them an invitation to a town hall, or to a group, or to a meeting, or to a breakfast, you're not canceling on us like the previous chief did. And I know I wasn't gonna say that, I said I wasn't gonna say it, but I'm gonna say it. This is important that you guys know, although all of you know this happened. Because it's important to me, again, to me, to Sarah, that my son doesn't have to endure the color of his skin and his last name. It is important to me that my son is treated as well as anyone else besides wherever his zip code is, which is 19604, and it doesn't really matter. I want my son to be held accountable by any of your officers with a culture established by your new chief for not only his do's but his don'ts. I want him to be celebrated, but I also want him to be corrected if he needs to be corrected. And that starts from the top. The culture has to be established from the top. So I believe that your morale, and in my experience as a citizen and all the tickets that I've gotten, go with and other bad experiences that other people that I know and that I love have had with the police, positive and negative, come with the morale of your department, and the morale came from the top.
Okay.
I just
Good.
want to say something.
Good points.
You can always invite me for food.
Invite him for breakfast, he'll show up.
And also,
Yeah.
please don't believe that the expectation is that the chief is everywhere all the time, because that's why there are lieutenants and captains and sergeants and everywhere. So his team should be the people that he trusts. It shouldn't be people that are only doing as much just to look good, but also to be present in the community, to be present in the school district, to be present where Shaika said that they should be present, meet us where we are, but also we should be able to meet you guys where you are. And we should be able to back you where you are, because if not, this relationship is not gonna work, and we're gonna meet in 4 years again because the previous person did not like it or did not hit it.
Very good. Thank you. Bradera?
I would like to see a new chief that understands that violence is a disease and uses approaches, strategies to treat it. And also possibly looking at GVI, group violence intervention, and bringing that in here to the city of Reading.
Okay, thank you. Pam?
Also, I'd like a chief that understands that the officers are people too, and there's morale, and there's toxic environments, and that, that tough guy thing needs to really go away, because mental health is important for, everybody, including police officers, and I work with veterans and Marines, I work with Marines. You guys are tough. So.
Okay.
Bill?
Go ahead. Meets the school district where they're at. Okay. Yes, sir?
Customer service skills. Here to serve community, customer service skills is an important quality, interpersonal communication skills. So that means a willingness to assist and empathy, and I think that goes a long way
Okay.
for people to feel comfortable with the police department.
I'll tell you, the very first mayor I worked for told me this, and it makes a lot of sense. He goes, you know what? People don't want to hear what you can't do for them. They want to hear what you can do for them. Even if it's a little thing, right? That's customer service. This is what we can do for you. And I thought, that stuck with me for, I don't know, 40 years. So I think that's pretty good.
Manager, can you give us an idea what?
You can call me Bill. You don't have to call me manager. My God, we're formal.
Can you tell us what the job description looks like for the police?
The job description we recently rewrote, and it looks a lot what I'm hearing tonight. So I think we're good with that. We just need to find the right person to meet that. So this is very helpful for me. Anything else before we close the meeting?
Accountability.
Accountability.
Who's gonna be his accountability?
Okay.
No,
Yes.
that's the question.
That's me. Oh, that's me.
Yeah.
That's me and the mayor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Day to day, it's me.
So, will we have a follow-up to this meeting?
The police department right now is looking at having quarterly meetings. We haven't done meetings for a while, so this is kind of new, especially for these officers. But we want to get more face to face with the people we serve, and we want to get more ideas and suggestions or recommendations. So
Would you move it around the city?
we'll be moving around the city.
Yeah.
Yes,
There's more of them.
yes, that's exactly what we'll
I chose
do.
this location because it was kind of centralized for the city, but would definitely like to be able to have alternative locations in different aspects, so it's more
Would you
convenient.
do it by quadrants or by councilmanic districts?
That's up in
a
the air
good
right now, but
question.
I'll tell you one thing. If we're invited to a community meeting, a town meeting, whoever wants to set that up and invite us, most likely we will come. We will, maybe not me, because I'm not a cop anymore, but they will come. All right. Hey, one more.
I have a suggestion for your meeting, because you want to partner with the school districts. Use the schools for your meeting.
Okay.
Because then it's closer for you to use different areas. And then parents can come if they have to walk.
Good.
The Olivets.
Thank you.
The Olivets,
And
the
parking.
And parking.
Well, look, thank you very much for coming out tonight and giving your ideas. And I know we took notes and we'll be very receptive to what we've heard tonight. So I appreciate it. Thank you much.
Thank you guys.
Have a great rest of your evening.